All right. Okay. Doo. All right. Welcome to Trauma Talk Radio live broadcast with myself, your freedom coach, Natasha Miller. Yes, indeed. Let's see. Keep pulling the wrong side. It's like opposite of what I'm looking at. Okay. So let's get started with our broadcast for today. All right. So, welcome to Trauma Talk Radio, a podcast committed to helping people live a trauma free lifestyle, one candid conversation at a time. And there are three components to Trauma Talk Radio. One, we have our Trauma Talk Radio shorts, where I'm just out in the public interviewing everyday people about trauma. Two is our Dear Freedom Coach clips, where I answer some of the questions that you all send in, your interview questions. And then lastly, we have our Trauma Talk Radio live broadcast here on YouTube every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And the great thing about our live broadcast is that viewers have an opportunity to call in to join me here on the platform for a candid conversation about overcoming life traumas. So this month, February 2025, our theme for the month is Unpacking Triggers. That's what we're talking about all month for Trauma Talk Radio live broadcast. And today, our topic is how to identify your triggers. It's all about identifying your triggers. That is the topic today. And I'm going to give you one tidbit on how to identify your triggers. And typically, we go through the content first, and then we open the lines for viewers to chime in if there's live viewers present. So let's jump on in on the topic this evening, identifying your triggers. So first off, let's review what trauma is. Trauma violates your internal sense of safety, security, and stability. Trauma is anything that makes you feel internally unsafe, insecure, emotionally, mentally, spiritually unstable. And then triggers. Recall the residue of your trauma history. It recalls the residue of those suppressed traumas, unprocessed traumas, unresolved, unhealed traumas. It pulls on the residue of those. But sometimes it actually pulls on the residue of traumas that you've actually done the work and healed from. But we're going to talk about that later on this month when we get to the topic assessments, trigger trauma triggers assessments. So you can assess where you are on the trigger scale level. All right. Triggers also invite you, they're invitations for you to do something. Do something different, do something new, do something fresh, do something opposite than how you would normally react to a trigger. So they can invite you to pursue inner healing. It's like, hey, you need to heal from this particular traumatic experience that's still impacting you today whenever you're triggered. There are invitations for you to renew your mind. It may expose a thought process that no longer serves you or a false narrative that is totally irrelevant and it's false. And it's time to release that false narrative. It's also triggers may invite you to declutter and reprioritize. It's like, hey, you got a lot going on. You're stretching yourself too thin. You know, if there's too much on the plate, we triggered by anything and everybody. anything, everything, all things. And then lastly, triggers may be an invitation for you to rest. This, too much going on. Sit down somewhere and rest. Get some rest. Get some sleep. Get some rest. Have some downtime. Decompress. And so, yeah, those are some of the invitations of triggers. So, one way to identify your triggers, one way, there are three ways, and the other two I save for my program, Healing from Trauma God's Way. Come on in over and learn more about the information. You can see the link scrolling above at the bottom of the screen, how you can schedule your consultation to learn more. But there are three, but I'm only going to share one here, one tidbit on how you can identify your triggers. And also with my programs, it has a complete process on helping you transform your triggers. But we're going to be talking about transforming triggers next week. So how you can identify your triggers is to identify your values. This is one way to identify your triggers, because typically your triggers correlate with your core values. Yeah, so if you know your values, you can easily identify your triggers and work on not allowing your triggers to dictate your behavior, your thought process, or your emotions. Alrighty, so I'm going to read a passage from my book, from the chapter on Know Your Triggers, because it's in this. I'm passing it up. Here it goes. Did I share that? It's freedom your reflection in the mirror, 8 steps to overcoming trauma. So, in retrospect, I have come to realize that I possess 3 primary triggers that are in direct correlation with 3 of my core values. The following are my 3 triggers, along with the core value that lies beneath the trigger. Now, I'm only going to do one. Trigger 1. I cannot stand, this is a trigger, a lot of talk without action. Like I mentioned earlier about some praying folk who will verbally pray for you all day, so they say, unless you actually witness them praying, but will not do anything to assist you with your lack or need. So the core value is helping others in word and deed. Like if we really have a heart to help, a heart to care, our actions will align with our words. I will always remember one of the most helpful experiences with an individual during my time of homelessness. Although she gave me $20 that I so desperately needed and used for gas, she took the time to ask me questions for a clear understanding of my circumstances. In addition, she assisted me with devising a step-by-step plan to continue moving forward. She was so helpful because amid my emotions, it was challenging for me to identify the necessary steps I needed to take. Hence, one of the reasons why it's important for us to unpack our traumas, unpack our triggers, is to transform them into freedom strategies to change our natural human reactions to triggers, traumas, challenges, whatever it may be, to healthy responses. We don't want our triggers to stimulate us to where we're so emotional, we're so irrational in our thinking, and now we're chaotic in our behavior. No, we want to be able to process our emotions and our thoughts immediately in real time, and then respond to the situation in a healthy manner that diffuses the situation and not continues to ignite the fire of the trigger, trauma, the challenge, trial, tribulation, whatever it is that has us all triggered up in the realms of our soul. So that's why it's important to unpack our triggers. And it's also good to surround ourselves with people who will be able to still see amid our trigger moment. We can be so attached to the situation emotionally and mentally that we're unable to see beyond the situation, beyond our emotions and our thoughts. And to have people that could clearly see those things is very great to surround ourselves with those types of people who can be an anchor amid the turbulence of the sea. Woo-hoo. All right. So that is the one tidbit on how to identify your triggers. So if it doesn't look like anyone is here for the live broadcast, so I'm gonna move on over to closing remarks. At this time, I will open the lines, but hey, there's nowhere here to open the lines too, and it's all good. It's all good because it's been raining all day. It's raining right now, and I've been up late for the past couple of nights and stuff. I'm tired, so I actually, all honesty, I was kind of hoping no one showed up for the live broadcast today on all platforms, so I could just come on, talk for a few minutes, and go. Hey, but that doesn't mean I don't want to see you next Tuesday. That's just how I feel this Tuesday. So join me next Tuesday for Trauma Talk Radio live broadcast here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And next week, we're going to talk about transforming triggers. I'm going to give a few tidbits on how to do just that. And that is all, folks, for now. That's it. That's all. This is your Freedom Coach signing off until next week. Peace and freedom. And I look forward to seeing you here for the live broadcast, because for us to have a long Trauma Talk Radio live broadcast up until like almost an hour, we need viewers to come on and engage, because Trauma Talk Radio is all about conversation and dialogue, not monologue. So this is Freedom Coach rolling out. I'll see you all next week. Bye bye.